Hello, I'm Arion Light, founder of the Art of Living Awake, the Creative Mastery Program, and I've written heaps of books on living and creating from the heart, also being an ex-circus clown. But today I wanted to take a moment to share a bit about Creative Mastery coaching with you. It's something I've been doing for over 10 years with hundreds, if not thousands of people, and it's really about the capacity to find the awakened heart in you and allow it to come forth into a full creative expression. So for me, that the heart is that aspect of us that has never forgotten the true beauty of who we are. Beyond the mind and our heritage perceptions, there is that eternal knowingness that I am all of life. I am the creative field of possibilities. And so that heart has both a feminine aspect, which is the stillness and the inner peace, and it's the monk on the mountaintop, the knowing of myself as all life. But it also has a creative impulse, the masculine aspect of God, of creation, which is the invitation to give from my heart, of myself, to life, to make a difference, to stand for something, to fight for something. And this masculine creative power in us has all too often been warped by the ego, and that's why we see so many structures and modern society really built on disconnection. But that doesn't mean that the creative urge in us is inherently egoic. In fact, the creative urge in us is the beautiful divine masculine aspect of existence, and it's beautiful. And part of my work is reclaiming that from the ego and saying, yes, I live within me creative possibilities, and I'm going to give myself to them as my spiritual devotion. So that's what Creative Mastery Coaching is. It's me working one-on-one with you to support you to bring alive that creative force in your heart, in the world, to work with the tension of the resting stillness, the feminine aspect of creation where all true beauty comes from, while also allowing, not getting just addicted to that, which is what happens in a lot of our sort of spiritual circles, is that there's an addiction to the feminine aspect, the stillness of creation, and we hide from the masculine aspect that invites us to go beyond where we know, to go where it's unsafe and scary, and where we yearn to go, to give and to share and to make a difference in a way that will have us know ourselves as the fullness of life, the resting and the active. And so Creative Mastery Coaching works with the two of them, cultivating the inner peace and the inner beauty, while also shaping the creative force in us as a service of the beautiful heart. So there's a few real challenges in this work that I've found with people over time. So I want to share a few now and it'll help you get a sense of whether Creative Mastery Coaching is right for you. So the biggest one, the single biggest sort of challenge or block to people living and creating from their heart is what I call poor state management, which simply means my thoughts and my feelings are not aligned and create a sort of creative confusion, and that the true creative beauty and power of us gets lost in that the sort of ever-changing states, the conflicting states, fundamentally where our thoughts and our feelings are not lined up. And so, and without sort of managing our state, then it comes in and undermines anything we're trying to create. It can show up as distraction or low confidence or getting lost in one thing and then putting it aside and going to something else, or whatever it is. If we don't know how to manage our state, we've got no chance in really living and creating from the heart. The second challenge that I see really often, especially once people have managed to really master their state, is what I call lack of focused action, which is really where I'm taking action here and I'm taking action here, and I've got to moving towards this a little bit, this a little bit, and there's not a really clear vision that my actions are here building towards. And what this means is that it's like putting a few bricks over here for a bit of the house and then putting a few bricks over here and a few bricks over here, is that very little actually gets built. There's a little bit, but that the creative potential isn't fulfilled on, because they're not lined up. Yeah, that the power comes from bringing our actions in alignment with a vision. Anyway, I'll talk about that in a minute, but the challenge is lack of focused action. The third challenge, and this is a juicy one, and often where most of the coaching happens, which is really what I call inconsistent action. And that's where you've got a sense of your state, and you're able to sustain your own inner energies to focus. You've even got a vision that you know you're working towards. But then there's the challenge of actually doing the nitty-gritty hard work day in, day out to actually fulfill on what it takes. Especially if you've got a spiritual inclination, and this is something I've wrestled with for years as a spiritual addict, is that there's often a belief that it should just be easy and it should just happen, a sort of entitlement complex, that if I just find the right inner state of being, it'll all just manifest. And while there's a sort of deeper spiritual truth to that, there's also a very physical grunt time in the creation of our lives and our dreams. And so the unwillingness to actually get dirty consistently, to get uncomfortable and just do the work day in, day out, is the third biggest challenge. So these three challenges of poor state management, lack of focused action, and lack of consistent action really are what I work with people on. They're the fundamental three challenges that also provide the three possibilities for creative mastery, for truly living and letting the beauty and the juice in your heart be created. So really that's what I work with. In a coaching session, in a coaching program, we work with those three fundamentally. So we work with state management, or state mastery even, which is the capacity to bring your state of being in alignment with the flow, the essence in your heart. And so your state in the model I use is made up of breath, movement, feeling, thought, word, and action. And these 6 different aspects shape a whole picture of your state. And if you've got real power with your thoughts, but your feelings are running wild, then you can't manage your state. If you've got real power with your breath, but your thoughts are not clear, then you can't have state mastery. So state mastery is bringing together the breath, the movement, the feeling, the thought, the word, and the action into alignment. And a huge part of my work with people is doing that work and developing the skills to be at the source of your own state through the different changes of whatever it is that you're creating. So that's the first thing I really would work with you on if you were wanting to come and do creative mastery coaching with me, is state mastery. The second one is very much about creative mastery, which is the capacity to know where you're going, know where you are now, and know what's the next step. The three of them form what I call the creative mastery triangle, and they form a power that brings both the sort of the masculine divine power of what can be with the what I call the feminine beauty of what is, and brings them together, and from their union comes a very clear path for the next step. Without that, often we're caught up in the vision and we're trying to take actions, but we're not really grounded in reality. Or we're really grounded in reality, but we're moving from just what we can see as possible, not from the divine vision of what could be possible. And so the second thing I really work with people is this creative mastery, bringing together the vision of what's possible with the current reality to create a very clear path forward for what it is that you're called to create. So the third thing we work with, and again, this is probably a lot of the coaching work. Once the other two people have got a power with the first two, then the third one is just what I could call momentum or embodiment. And that momentum and embodiment is that capacity to sustain yourself through the different stages of what you're called to create. Because what happens with any creation is there's like a romance period where we connect with an idea and that we get full and inspired and anything's possible in that time. And so many creative projects are born in that romance phase, just like so many children are born from that romance phase. But then what happens is, like romance, we meet a certain stage in that project where we start to hit our blocks of resistances in the world, and all too often what happens is that the creative power of that project gets diminished or thrown out altogether. And so this is probably the one I'm most passionate about, because I know maybe you or people you know have so many extraordinary creative ideas that haven't been fulfilled or only been fulfilled on partially, because that power to build momentum over time isn't there. And so if you do some coaching work with me, once we establish that we're good partners, then that's where our strength becomes, is the consistent over time action that shapes who and what you're called to create, while staying really true to the essence and the soul of who you are and what it is you're wanting to create in your project. So I hope that gives you a little insight into what Creative Mastery Coaching is. If you're called, then underneath you'll see a link somewhere that'll guide you to a place where there's 5 questions you can ask, which get sent straight to me, and they basically help flesh out where you are in your creative journey and what coaching might mean for you or what would be possible. And then from that I'll respond, and we can explore whether there's a creative match for what's possible with this creative partnership. I do all my coaching by what I call open contribution, which is a wild model of working, and I could rave about that for hours, but it's fundamentally living from the true creative freedom of life, which is I give my coaching to you. Yeah, I've been running my whole business like this for years, and I don't charge a set fee. In honor of true giving, I give it to you. And I lay my vulnerability at your feet and allow you, called by your own heart and your own integrity, to give back whatever you feel to give back. And it increases the abundant flow of the creative partnership exponentially. And I love the model and happy to talk to you more about that. But if you're interested, fill in those 5 questions, and I really look forward to communicating with you soon. And may you be living and creating from your heart right now. Thanks for your time.